So recording on the video because this is Podiatry Legends podcast uncut. So now I'm going to do my proper intro over here. The recording is on. The recording is going everywhere at the moment. So here we go. Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. Before I introduce my guest, give a shout out to the sponsor of this particular episode, which is Podium. Podium will help you get more Google reviews and help you communicate better with your patients if you're not doing that already. They have set up a landing page just for the Podiatry Legends podcast listeners. All you can do is go to podium, podium.com/Podiatry Legends. There's a page there where you can go and ask them some questions and connect with them. Okay, my guest today is a repeat offender. It is Nicola O'Brian. She has been on here before, and she was talking on the last episode about cosmetic podiatry and aesthetic podiatry, which has been a very, very popular episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, this is your first episode, go back and have a listen to it because it will make you think differently about what we normally class general podiatry. It is I've had a lot of positive comments on that particular episode. Today, we're talking about lipoedema because it's an area that we discussed offline briefly, that a lot of podiatrists don't know too much about this, but it's a very, very interesting topic. So Nicola, how you doing this morning? And it is morning for me.
Yeah, it's a good evening.
Good evening for you. You're over in the UK.
I am, yes. Yeah, it is around 10 past 9 now in the evening. So settling down with a glass of wine, ready for the evening.
Yeah, 10 past 6 in the morning here. So yeah, I'm settling down with a glass of wine as well. No,
that's
coffee.
Early. I feel guilty now.
No, it was coffee for me. No, it's no. So let's get straight into this because I think on the last episode we briefly touched on it and then said, "Oh, we'll get you back to talk about that more," because we knew it was a really, really important subject. So, can you just, for the people listening, give an explanation of what lipedema is all about?
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll start with why we talked about it on the last topic. Was because in the cosmetic and aesthetic podiatry, one of the reasons that got me into that was my own experience with body dysmorphia, my own experience with how I viewed my body, and I could understand how my patients felt about cosmetic conditions that they were coming across, so like fungal nails and things like this, things that they were unhappy with how it looked. So I understood that.
So when you're saying dysmorphic, you're saying anything that is outside of the normal.
Yes.
That other people view, some people feel really subconscious about that.
And some people, there may be actually not particularly visible. So that's where the body dysmorphia comes in, because it might not actually be something that other people can immediately see or recognize, but you know it's there and you're self-conscious about it, and you become obsessively self-conscious about that.
Yeah, that's what I meant, self-conscious. I said subconscious. What was I talking about?
You can edit that bit out.
Yeah.
So I have a condition called lipedema. Now, most people misdiagnose lipedema as lymphoedema, and I was misdiagnosed as having a form of lymphedema for about 20 years. And I've had a problem with my legs since I was about 7 years old. I knew my legs were different. They were different to my peers. My legs hurt. I thought everybody's legs hurt. I could not understand why people enjoyed running. I couldn't understand how people could run. I was like, I watch athletics on the TV, and I'd watch athletics at school. You know, I'd stand in the playground.
And what do you mean by hurt? Which just generally always just painful or painful to touch?
Heavy
okay.
Pain. Heavy to touch, painful to touch, feeling heavy, feeling like you're carrying around bags of sand and bags of water inside your legs. So if you imagine that you've got some literally sandbags and then just, duct tape them to your legs, and then have to walk around with that heaviness, constant feeling. So as I grew up, I thought that was normal. I thought everybody had this, everybody experienced this. And it wasn't until I got sort of into my teens and I realized that I was different. And then when hormones kicked in, because this is a very hormone driven condition, this is why it affects 99.9% of people that are affected by lipedema are female. It says it's driven by female hormones. Now, there are some men that are affected by it, and they usually have a problem with their hormones, and they often have too much estrogen. So it can affect men. A similar condition to it.
Before you go any further, so young girls, do you have to be overweight to begin with, or slightly overweight, and then it progresses from there? Or can this happen with someone who, like you said, when the hormones start kicking in at a certain age, can you be really fit and then this come in afterwards?
I was really fit. I was actually a very competitive swimmer right from a very early age. So from the age of 5, I was going to competitive swim sort of classes, and I did my first swim marathon when I was 7.
Oh my God.
And I actually did a marathon. It was 26 miles swimming. I did for age concern or age UK, I thought, whatever they were back in the day. This is back in the 1970s. And I was actually scouted by a swim scout, talent scout, for the, oh gosh, what would it have been? I forgot what it was now. It would have been, wasn't the Olympics, it would have been before that. It was the, oh gosh, the Commonwealth Games. That was it. It was the Commonwealth Games. There was a junior Commonwealth Games, and I was scouted to be in the under 11s. For my marathon swimming. I was a very good competitive marathon swimmer. So by the time I was like 6 years old, I'd already done my first mile, and I could just put me in water and I just go and go and go. So I was fit as a flea. I was really, really, really fit.
So you weren't carrying like a little bit of chubby baby fat or anything?
No. Look all the photos. Look all the photos of me when I'm, sort of that age. I was really, 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 really slim. And then from about 7 years old, I started noticing that my legs were rubbing together, and it was like a thigh rub, and it was uncomfortable, and so I didn't want to wear certain clothes. So mum took me along to the doctors, and the doctor says, oh, she just needs to exercise more. And my mum says, well, she does competitive swimming, she goes at 6 a.m. to the swimming pool and swims 4 times a week and swims, and there's like this sort of fatty layer over the muscle that's going on. And then it was commented on by my swimming teacher about it. And then anyway, it carried on. I didn't really think too much about it, but then I got to about 11 and my hormones kicked in very early. So, sort of the girly thing started around about 10.
Girly things.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But okay.
So, boy.
We'll move on from girly things. Yes.
But yeah, so my hormones and periods, they started very early. They started around the age of 10, and so I went into kind of a hormone overdrive, and then we noticed that my legs were quite disproportionate to the rest of me. So the rest of me was really, really skinny, and my legs were very oversized in comparison, and I became really self-conscious about them. And then around that time,
if I just go back a step, so is this sort of like visual thing where you'll see a lot of people and they do have a smaller upper body, and people go, geez, they've got big bum, big legs? Is that the sort of the thing that people notice? Oh, you're frozen on me. Nope, we've got to wait for you to come back. Okay, so we've got you back. That's good. So the question I asked was, is this when we're younger and you would notice, a girl who was slightly smaller frame up top, but then all of a sudden they'd have the big bum and bigger legs, and you go, oh, wow, and you're just thinking, oh, they just obviously now eating too much, and that's just where the weight is actually going. So there is an underlying reason why that happens.
Yes, absolutely. And that is one of the cardinal diagnoses for lipedema, is the disproportionate shape from upper to lower body.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I had this disproportionate body. My bum was getting bigger and my legs were getting bigger. And even though I was swimming very regularly, I then ended up in hospital. I actually ended up with a slipped epiphysis. So I dislocated my hip when I was 11, ended up in hospital, obviously put my swimming career to an end.
Yeah.
And I ended up having major surgery on my hips. And then I was laid up for 9 months. I was 9 months in traction in hospital and having pin surgery on my hips. And then the moment I got back up to start moving again, so I was actually literally on a traction for 3 months. And the moment I got up, I was like, wow, I can't get my trousers on. And it was just like, that's kind of what's happened to my legs.
And what period of time was that? Did that happen over?
Within 3 months. Yeah,
okay.
3 months.
So it wasn't a long period of time. Yeah.
So within 3 months, all of a sudden, my legs had grown so much at the age of 11. My legs had grown so much that I literally could not get my trousers over my legs. So the jeans I went into hospital with, I could not put back on. And then I was blamed for overeating and being sedentary. I was in hospital.
Yeah.
I could only eat what I was given.
And at the time, and as an 11-year-old and as your family, that seems the most logical thing. You can't fit your pants because you've been eating too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I was on traction in the hospital bed and doing physio every day and things like this with the physio.
And you're only eating what they're handing to you.
And then eating what they're
It's not as though you're sneaking in bags of Doritos. It's you eat what is given to you.
Back in the 1980s, you didn't have treats like that. My parents could barely afford the fare. They didn't have a car. We were very poor. And my parents couldn't even afford the fare to get to and from the hospital, let alone big me bags of sweets to nibble on. No, so that wasn't happening. So then anyway, I didn't think much of it, went away, went back to the hospital, said, look, there's something wrong with my legs. And they said, no, there's not. Your hip's fine. It's all fixed. So you can go. And I said, but my legs are heavy and they hurt. So they hurt even more now. Yeah. And the doctor said, well, no, it's not normal for them to hurt. But you just got fobbed off, continuously fobbed off. So I then started, at that age, you become very, as a girl, you start becoming self-conscious. And so I started wearing long skirts, and the fashion at the time wasn't long skirts. And so I used to get teased because I wore long skirts. And then I found that I couldn't wear trousers. And I remember one particular time when these kids called me out because I'd wear this pair of jeans and they were really tight around my thighs and my ass, very, very loose around my waist. So they were like 3 sizes too big around my waist. And I had this kind of belt trying to hold them on. And then from the knee down, they were like far too loose on me. And so these kids called out and were taking the mick out of me and just and saying, oh, what's wrong with you? Because, are they meant to be flares or are they meant to be skinny jeans? What are you wearing? Because and from that day on, and then literally for the next 15 years, I didn't wear trousers.
As you would.
That made that much of an emotional impact on me. Yeah. I literally did not wear trousers for 15 years.
And the thing is, kids are cruel. We all know that they say things without really thinking of the consequences to the person. But I think even as adults, sometimes adults will say something to somebody else, not thinking of what's happening.
I went to the doctor about my legs, and the doctor said to my mom, he said, oh, just give her a pint of milk every day and don't feed her anything else.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting treatment.
That was the consultant. That was the orthopedic consultant at the Royal National Orthopedic Hospital. That was interesting. So yeah, so then I thought, okay, I'm just fat, and I just happen to have fat on my legs, and I've got to do something about it. So then I became anorexic, because I wanted to lose the weight. So for the age of 13, 14, I was actually clinically anorexic.
But because still with a big bum and big legs.
I could not get rid. Yeah. So my top, on top, I was a size 6.
Yeah.
Size 6, which is very small. And then my bottom size was probably a size 16, 18. So there was this massive...
that is the disproportion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very
disproportionate. Yeah. So I then, as obviously years go on, you just assume that, I was told around then I was told it was a lymphatic problem. Yeah. And that was probably caused by the surgery, and that I needed to exercise more and I needed to diet. And the more I dieted, the more my weight and the legs exploded and got bigger and bigger.
So the more you tried to do about it, the worse it got.
Yes. And that is the thing with lipedema. The more you go on to a very low calorie diet and the more you exercise in certain ways, actually can increase the inflammatory problem that's going on then, because it's an inflammatory problem. And that will then actually make it worse. So I then spent the next 20 years doing all the things the doctors told me to do, which kept making it worse. And I was being told that I was just non-compliant. I was lazy. I wasn't actually committed to doing the things they were telling me to do, that I was lying. And so
it wouldn't be just general practitioners though. This is where you're saying where podiatrists can have patients that are coming in, whether it's at an early stage or a later stage in their life, and the first thing they're thinking of is you need to be more active, you need to lose weight, not thinking of there could be something else going on behind the scenes.
Yes, Absolutely. And this has been a diagnosable thing for a long time. So I was growing up, and one of the reasons why I wanted to go into podiatry in the first place, one was because my mum had similar legs to me, so it's hereditary. And I
Okay.
realized that there was something going on because my mum had it, and I knew that my aunt on my dad's side had it. So it can be passed down genetically from father and mother.
Okay. So it's the lipedema that's passed on. It's not when people say, oh, geez, big bums run in the family.
Yeah, it's the lipedema.
It's the lipedema. Yes.
Absolutely. So it's on my dad's side and it's on my mum's side. So I got a double whammy of it genetically.
Yeah.
So I really,
Lucky you must have thought. You must go, whoa, look at that. I got twice the amount.
So one of the reasons why I went into podiatry was because I thought I want to go into medicine about the lower limb because I want to try and find out what's wrong with me. So that was one of the things that actually drew me to podiatry in the first place, because I thought we're lower limb specialists. I've got to be able to find out what is going on with my legs, what is going on with my lower limb. So that's what specifically drew me to coming into podiatry. It still has taken 20 years to get the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Now,
which is a long time, isn't it?
It's a long time. So I didn't get a diagnosis. I'm 50, actually on Friday, a couple of days' time. I turned 50, and I didn't get a
birthday for a couple of days. By the time this comes out, you will be 50.
I will be 50.
Happy birthday for the future.
So yeah, in lockdown, so we won't be going out and celebrating. It'll be a Zoom birthday call. But yeah, so I finally got a diagnosis 3 years ago.
Only 3 years ago.
3 years ago, a formal diagnosis.
Okay, so how'd you feel when you're finally told, and then you finally read about it and you finally knew exactly what it was? Was it relief, frustration? Did you know, okay, well, what do you do about it then?
Yeah, it was all of those. It was all of those, and actually quite a bit of anger, because the medical profession had every opportunity from the age of 7 to diagnose me and prevent me getting to the disabling stage I'm at now. For those obviously that don't know me, I actually have to use a wheelchair now because I can't use my legs properly anymore.
Okay, and you're only almost 50.
And I'm just about to come 50.
So what could they have done if they diagnosed it when you were younger? And like you said, we're talking about this on the podcast because there will be patients that will come in to see a podiatrist who may have never been diagnosed. One, I want to find out, are there certain questions that they should be asking the patient that they can then apply in the clinic?
And the younger.
And what do you do about it? What can you do?
Exactly. I have the grandmas come in, which I recognise at the same stage as me. And then I'll say to them, if their daughters aren't already one of my patients, I'll say, can you get your daughters to come in? And then I'll say, can you get the granddaughters to come in? And I'm actually the first podiatrist to formally diagnose lipedema in the UK. And the reason why I'm doing this, and my drive now, is to help other podiatrists understand that this is something that we should own, we should be diagnosing. It is a lower limb condition and it is diagnosable. There is no tests presently, although they have just identified a particular gene, a faulty gene, but it's very early stages. This is purely diagnosable by clinical description, by actually observing the patient, by clinical signs. So this is something that is very much in our toolbox and should be in our toolbox. And there are enough of us out there to save the emotional trauma and the physical trauma that women will go through by not controlling this disease early.
Okay, now, so you said there's signs, but the symptoms would also be to the patient a heaviness. Is it painful to touch?
Yes, so it's history. So it's based on history and clinical signs and symptoms and patient history, and it's completely diagnosable by that. So what I've done is I've designed some webinars now so that we can teach people how to diagnose and then where to refer them to and where the points of referral need to go.
Okay.
Now,
so when are the webinars coming out?
Hopefully end of November, early December. The webinar.
Okay, so it depends on when you're listening to this. We're talking now in, we're recording October 2020. This will be out early November 2020. So, but I would take it, even though you're going to run these like in November, December, this is going to be an ongoing thing that you will keep doing to help educate the podiatrists?
Absolutely. And these will all be completely free webinars. So I'll be putting them out there to help people diagnose. What we don't
I
have...
need you know what I need? When you say that part, I should get a cash register sound effect that goes ching when you said it's free, because there'd be podiatrists going, oh, here we go. It's going to cost me money. No, it's not going to cost you anything. It is free.
Absolutely free. No, we need to get this information out there. This is something that I'm really passionate to start having the universities start teaching this at university level. I have a colleague of mine, she's actually in nutrition. She actually suffers with lipedema. She's in a very late stage. She's worse condition than I am. And she does dietetics. She's training to be a dietitian. And she's managed to now get this into their BSc courses. And that's what next thing we need to do. We need to make sure that this is a decent sized module that is in our BSc modules for podiatrists. And
so
also,
if it is, say for example, it is diagnosed earlier. Say if you had been diagnosed when you were, say, 14 or 15, what could you have done differently to not be where you are now?
There is ways to manage the diet, and it is not about calorie control.
It's not about drinking a litre of milk.
No, it's not about drinking.
No. Okay, well, that surprises me.
That's the worst thing out there. No, yeah. There is ways of looking at looking into more of an anti-inflammatory diet. Some people will do better with keto type diets. Some people do better with anti-inflammatory diets. So oxidase diets. There's lots of different types of avoidance diets out there because it's very much inflammatory driven. You can then look at compression. Compression's really important. Yeah. One of the things that tends to be a comorbidity and often will be undiagnosed. So sometimes people will be diagnosed with a lipedema first. Sometimes they'll be diagnosed with a hypermobility syndrome. And EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, is often a comorbidity. And one of the reasons why we think it's a comorbidity is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome allows your skin to be very stretchy. Your joints are very stretchy. Your collagen actually is very stretchy. If you have this very stretchy collagen, that allows the skin to stretch, and that allows lipedema fat nodules to build up and stretch your skin. So they're often comorbidities that go on. So using the exercise carefully, because you have to be very careful how you exercise with lipedema, because you can cause an awful lot of pain and inflammation. And
I was going to say that, because if you're carrying a lot of weight around and you're being told by, because in my head, I'm just picturing,
I mean,
I'm picturing patients
running, if they turn around and said to me, traditionally, oh, go out there and do some cardiovascular, actually that could give me a heart attack. Yeah.
But I'm picturing patients that may be carrying weight and they've got, I need to see a personal trainer. So they go to the personal trainer who has no idea what they're doing. They might know about personal training, but not this particular problem. Yeah. And next thing, they've got them jumping up and down and doing all this exercise, and then they're walking away in more pain, and then that's putting them off for exercise again.
Yeah. And you become quite exercise resistant emotionally, because you realize that walking out and doing things is really painful.
So there'd be varying degrees of this too, wouldn't there? Where some people have it quite severe, where you'll see them, and you'll hear the term cankles, where the calves and their ankles just join. Yeah. But you would have varying degrees where people only have mild forms of this, or is it you either get it or you don't?
No. You can have, and there are different stages. Yeah. I'm just actually going to pick up my little bit.
Oh, no, use notes. I don't mind at all if you use notes.
I'm just going to bring up my thing. So stage 1 is where it tends to affect the buttocks and the hips. Yep. And you tend to get this like lumpy hip area. So you can have quite slim legs, quite slim body, quite slim arms, and you've just got this big sort of chunky, really sort of chunky tops of the very tops of the thighs around the buttocks.
Yeah, also, some women. I was watching Botched the other night, and there was this woman who already had a big buttocks, and she said, "Oh, I want it twice the size," and the plastic surgeons looked at each other and said, it's going to cost you about, but how big you want it, it's going to cost you about $30,000 per cheek. And so she decided not to do it. And they were trying to say to her, health-wise, you don't want it either. But so when you some people, they actually want that, but they don't realize there's people out there who don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. So stage 2 is the very top of the buttocks, the very top of the hips, and which also can affect the kind of the skirt, the stomach, from the navel down to the sort of pubis. That can also become very enlarged, and you can end up with this kind of skirt. So this tummy that becomes almost like a flap, a skirt, which is very familiar with this. So then stage 2, you're getting the tummy, you're getting the very top of the hips, and then you're going down to the knee, and you're getting the top of the thighs, very much enlarged compared to the lower limb and compared to the top of the body.
And
So
this could be any age. This could be someone in their 20s or someone in their 40s.
This can start. This can really start. We've had cases where this has started around 6 or 7 years old. I was very early. I was 15 years old. Yeah, but this sometimes it doesn't start until maybe a woman started her periods, until maybe she's had her first child or second child. Maybe even some people, it doesn't actually come on and really sort of grow until maybe she hits the menopause.
I was going to say, because is there a correlation between, you said it started with you when you were 6 or 7, but then you also hit womanhood quite early when things started changing.
So my hormones were already kicking in.
So this is almost like a pre-hormone problem for some people.
Can be, yeah, it's very hormone driven.
Yeah.
So the stage 3 is you're looking at the hips and then the thighs, and then it's going below the knee and it's going to the ankle.
Okay.
The stage 4 is actually the upper arms. So you can have stage 1, 2, and 3 and stage 4 together. Yeah. So I could be a stage 1 and stage 4 together, or I could be stage 2 and 4.
So you don't have to go through all 4 stages, 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be 1 and 4. So when it's up in your arms, is that painful as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. If anybody watching the video,
here we're getting a demonstration.
Yeah, actually, I should just pull my sleeve back up.
I have seen those sort of arms before.
Yeah, that is a traditional lipedema arm. You can see where it pulls.
Yeah.
And then you get kind of cuffing, and on my wrist, you can see the cuffing. It's quite clear, the cuffing, and you can see the rippling, how it's uneven and it's lumpy.
Is that because the fat is built up in that particular area? It's become swollen.
I'll go through that in a second.
And therefore it's disproportional to the rest of your arm, which is why it stands out.
I'll go through why the fat is slightly different in a minute.
Yeah.
But I'll just keep those. So stage 5 is just in the calf. So you can get ladies that will come in, and that's the ones, again, this podiatrist will spot them because they're coming in, they're sitting there, we're staring at people's legs. And most commonly it will start in the legs. My arms didn't start really becoming a problem until I was in my later 20s and 30s. And then it was really only in the last 10 years that I've had problems. And it's only in the last 5 years that this affected my lower arm. Up until then, I had no lipedema. I had a very, very slim lower arm.
Yeah,
it was only to the elbow. And so, of course, I've been covering up. I don't wear short sleeves, and now I don't wear anything. I wear sleeves generally down all the way to the wrist. I tend to wear full cover up now. But so stage 5 is just the calves are being affected first, and it'll be that's just where you start first generally, and it will spread once it becomes more severe and you've had it long term. Once you've really grown everywhere else, you will then it will start affecting the body. So generally it doesn't affect the trunk. It will affect the lower from the navel downwards.
Yeah.
And the upper trunk can be affected. Also, now it is recognized that you can get the nodules and granules in the breast. And some women will go to the doctors because they're worried because they've got a breast lump, and actually find that they say that they've got very granular, grainy breasts. And actually they're now recognizing that's lipedema in the breast. And sometimes women will find that, this happened to my mum. My mum, bless her, she's always wanted to have a breast reduction because her breast just got bigger from the age of sort of 30 up to when she died at 74. Her breast just kept getting larger and larger and larger.
Yeah.
And nobody would tell her what. And now looking back, it's like, well, it was really obvious. It was lipedema affecting in the breast.
If we just if we go back one step before you went through the stages, and I said, if you had diagnosed it earlier, some of the things that people could do, and you said one thing was diet.
Yeah.
One was, you said, compression as well.
Exercising correctly, so swimming and cycling, non-compressive exercise. So running is not very good and not recommended. But swimming is very, very good. Swimming and cycling are really, really good for the lower limbs. And compression stockings. We have to start compression early, and we need to be in good compression. Again, it's something podiatrists really traditionally don't tend to do an awful lot of. We tend to leave it to the compression nurses and lymphatic nurses. We need to start getting into this territory. We need to start learning a little bit. Even if we're not doing it, we need to start learning a little bit more about it. I mean, so I certainly didn't know anything about it until I went down this particular journey. But yes, so compression is really important. And if you can start with the compression early, that stops that stretching, that stops that build up as much, and that can keep it controlled. So the diet.
So is it the stretching, like you said, it's the stretching, and then there's the extra fluid in the area which creates the pain, and then the pain stops the activity. Yeah. And then you're eating you're probably eating the wrong thing on top of that.
And then you can get secondary obesity, but it is not obesity. It is a fat metabolism disorder. It is not obesity. And
that's an interesting point, that it's not obesity. This is two completely different problems.
Completely different problem. However, it's mostly diagnosed as obesity, and most people are misdiagnosed for a minimum of 10 to 20 years.
And this is when people will jump on their scales, and they'll then look at that chart on the wall, and I'll say, oh, height, weight, you're obese. And that's the simple diagnosis.
BMI is completely irrelevant to us with lipedema. It's absolutely completely meaningless, because we're carrying excess fluid. When you do this under MRI scans, it's really interesting because we are carrying so much excess water. So it is literally like having sort of water bags strapped to your body, because you're carrying so much extra water. And the reason behind that is with the lipedema fat, actually, I'm going to refer to my notes here. Just
yeah, no, that's okay.
So I'm just going to stop.
I said you can refer to your notes, just don't flutter them around while you're talking, because the microphone picks it up really bad.
So, so describing normal fat cells, okay, and this is Dr. Hubris, who is one of the experts in the field. She really is the one who's pushed the whole idea of lipedema forward, certainly in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And she really is our go-to person. So normal fat cells, they basically form as fat lobules, and they form into kind of like smooth layers that roll over each other. So when you compress normal fat, obesity fats, when you press on that, it feels smooth under touch.
Okay.
Now, lipedema fat is hypertrophed, so it's large fat molecules, and these are kind of they kind of clump together, and they don't roll over each other. So when you compress it, it feels granular. Now, most doctors and most healthcare professionals are not taught to recognize the difference between normal fat and lipedema fat. And that's one of the things, the diagnostic criteria that we can learn to do. Now, the reason why most doctors will refer to a lymphatic nurse, because there aren't really any lipedema nurses out there. Yeah. They're starting as a few, but they're very, very few. They tend to be lymphatic nurses that have also trained in lipedema. And the reason why those people and physios can recognize it is because they do lymphatic drainage massage. Now, lymphatic drainage massage, again, is getting fluid. That's the lymphatic system not taking back the fluid out of the interstitial fluid, isn't going back in, isn't draining back correctly. And so you're using a pumping mechanism. So you're physically massaging it out of the tissues. You're trying to pump it back up because the pump isn't working. Now, what's different with lipedema is that the fat molecules actually attract hyaluronic acid. And the hyaluronic acid is what's used in derma fillers, it's what's used in the beauty industry, and when they sort of lip fillers and things. And that's something that everybody has in their body. Now, the fat that goes wrong with lipedema, that then becomes inflamed. That attracts hyaluronic acid, which is this long chain sort of sugar polymer. And that long chain polymer then attracts water. Hyaluronic molecule will take up 1,000 times. For one molecule, will take 1,000 times its size in water and attract the water.
Oh, right.
So if you've got fat now attracted this hyaluronic acid to it and attached to it, and that has attracted the water to it, all of a sudden this fat cell has become hugely over-engorged and inflated. And what happens is that then attracts, hyaluronic acid attracts inflammatory markers, and that inflates white blood cells. That all goes down there. That creates an inflammatory immune response. That immune response, the body then tries to repair that. To repair it, it then makes scar tissue and it tries to encapsulate it. And once it's encapsulated it, you can't use it. Okay. That's it. It's stuck there. You're stuck with it.
And you can't reverse it.
You can't reverse it. So you could die of starvation and still be 20 stone.
Yeah.
But you would die of starvation because your body cannot reuse that fat anymore. It's just not usable anymore.
Unlike, say, obesity or just normal weight, where you exercise and you can lose the weight, you can trim right down.
Your body can use that reserve.
I can see how this really messes with people's heads, where they're undiagnosed, they've got this problem, they try to exercise, it hurts, they then try to cut back what they're eating and the weight doesn't come off, so then they eat even less, so then the health gets shitty afterwards, and it's just spiral out of control.
Because and it can also deplete your minerals. So a lot of us with lipedema, we have to be really careful because our electrolyte balance is often not correct, which can then give you migraines and aches and pains and just make you feel crappy and nauseous because your electrolyte balance isn't quite correct. And
is there any relation with this too, with because then affecting the eating, say, long term?
Yeah, because
like in later life, like osteoporosis.
Absolutely. So a lot of women, I've got quite a severe osteoporosis because I've spent most of my life starving myself, living on less than a sub 800 calorie diet.
Yeah, you went off the milk.
Yeah, absolutely.
That doctor.
So
the liter of milk.
I spent most of my life dieting. And you can see photos, in my Facebook, you see photos of me where I've gone up. I mean, when I was at university, in my first 2 years, I think I went up to like 26 stone. And that's a
lot. So now that you know, okay, you're diagnosed, say 3 years ago, now that you know, and now you're looking after your diet, do you, even though, okay, size-wise, you can't lose that, do you feel better now that you're eating better and now that you're aware of the diagnosis?
Yes, it made such a difference. One was the stopping the starvation cycle, because a lot of women can actually become bulimic, become anorexic. As I say, I was anorexic in my teens, and become bulimic because they will starve and starve and starve, and then they'll binge because your body is just going, oh my god, it forces you to binge. So a lot of women with lipedema will actually end up with eating disorders and lots of heavy psychological trauma because of what they've been through and because of how society views them. Women don't get job interviews. Women will be turned down for promotion. Women will avoid going for particular jobs because they think that they're going to have to wear a skirt and court shoes. It puts people off certain career choices.
So there's a lot of socio-economical problems attached to it as well then.
Yeah. And then once you get to the stages I'm at, you become quite disabled. I mean, as I say, I can't walk down the road anymore. After I've got a wheelchair, I've got an electric scooter.
So is it I was going to ask a question because something you said right at the start. Does alcohol affect it at all? Other than it makes you feel better?
There's talk out there that says that it should be avoided. Other women are like, just really would give up enough already.
But what's interesting, we said it should be avoided, but what I've got to point out though, you're English. So telling you to not have a wine as well is, like you said, what you just said then, all jokes aside, you've already given up a lot and you've already gone through it. To you go, well, I'm going to have my wine regardless.
I'm going to have my wine and I'm going to have a gin with a diet tonic. But yeah, so I obviously there's processed foods. It tends to be processed foods. I tend to avoid personally, but everybody's slightly different. Everyone has a slightly different inflammatory response to particular foods. There are some generalizations. So processed food, staying away from anything processed.
Yeah.
Processed tends to be a real trigger for the weight gain and the water gain with the lipedema. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was stop worrying. For a long time, I'd been invited to do some conferences. And those of you know me, I've done speaking in conferences and bits and pieces.
Yeah, I was about to say you are shy. You're a shy little petal.
Very shy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I am actually painfully insecure and painfully shy. And I stayed away from actually doing conferences and speaking for a long time because I was frightened that people wouldn't take me seriously because I was fat, because I was this misshapen size, and because of how my legs looked.
But now but you could be known as the lipedema lady. So, but that you don't have to worry about that now.
On the podcast.
So, just before you go any further, you mentioned, just because you touched on something about food, I just wanted to, there was a question that went through my head, and I think if we move on, I'm going to forget it. Yeah. Are there any foods that we think are really good for us that are actually really bad for lipedema?
Yeah. It seems that salad is really bad.
See, that's why I wanted to ask the question.
Fruit and veg. Yeah, fruit and vegetables. So I've been doing, I've gone on to a keto diet. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name.
So you're saying, so fruit and vegetables make it worse. So we're thinking, oh, I'm going to eat really healthy with fruit and vegetables, and I'm going to see a personal trainer who's going to make me jump up and down.
Yeah, I did the whole fruit juice diet and gained 2 stone within like 2 months.
Ah, Jesus. That's, I can understand. You can understand how this really, I was about to swear then, how this messes with your head.
Totally messes with you. And it goes against everything they're taught. So even now, traditional dietitians are still taught the traditional, sort of carbohydrate, this much carbohydrate to this much protein to this much fat. Well, actually, the thing we need to avoid is carbohydrates. We don't metabolize sugars very well, and I found that a lot of women need to avoid carbohydrate and processed, especially processed carbohydrates and refined carbohydrates, refined carbs.
Yeah. So you gave me an article, you sent me an article, which I will put the attachment in the show notes, and that was a bit more information about lipedema. And the guy, I think they mentioned something about the 1940s when this guy first, doctor first diagnosed it.
This is what's so frustrating about this, and that kind of makes you angry, that Dr. Alan Hines at the Mayo Clinic in 1940, 80 years ago, actually diagnosed this condition and set out the parameters for diagnosis. And it still isn't taught in med school.
That's amazing.
And it affects something like, as I say, we know clinically in trials, clinical studies have identified 11% worldwide of women are quite severely, not like just small amount, but are severely affected enough to have to seek treatment. That means that actually in general clinics, what the doctors are saying to us now is that they're seeing more like 24% of patients coming forward with lipedema and identifying with lipedema. But that means that there's probably nearer 30 to 40, maybe even 50% of women are actually affected. They never come forward about it because they think it's their fault. We are given this culture of blame. We are told that it is our fault, that we've done something wrong, that we're not good enough. Society says that we need to be a particular shape and a particular size to fit in and to be acceptable and to be listened to and to be human. And we're dehumanized completely because we are fat and stupid and lazy when we are not, and we are told that it's something that we're doing wrong, that we're eating wrong, and that we're not exercising enough, and that if when we turn around and tell the doctors that actually we're called liars and cheaters. So that kind of demoralization into your psyche is huge and controlling. Now, considering that it is 99% of the population who have this condition are women, isn't it amazing that, considering that medicine is a male-dominated profession up until quite recently, and still is to a large degree, that this condition for women has never, ever really been explored. And it is only now with social media that women are coming together. And this is now being driven by women coming together saying, I've got these weird legs, what is going on? And the huge number of Facebook groups out there for lipedema warriors, Talk Lipedema, lipedema.org, talklipedema.org, all these associations and groups that are coming together now, where all these women are coming together and saying, I have been told that I'm this and this and this, and I know there's something wrong. I know I'm not lying. And now we're all coming together and we're all saying, do you know what? You now have to listen to us. You now
maybe podiatrists will become the leaders in diagnosing this problem and getting people to get early treatment.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're after. That's what you want podiatrists actually thinking a little bit more when the patients are in the chair and looking for this sort of thing and asking questions and looking for signs and talking about symptoms, and then helping guide the patient to actually take that next step.
And in the later stages, the later stages, really the only help that's out there that really does do anything is surgery. And we are looking at liposuction, because you cannot remetabolize, you can't reuse this fat. So the only way to actually stop disability at later stages is to have to go down the surgical route. Now, the problem in the UK is that it is considered and still classed as a cosmetic procedure and is not available on the NHS. So the NHS are happy for me to become disabled and have to access disability requirements and other treatments for the NHS, but they won't do the surgery that will repair me. However, you know, where women can go out there and get breast augmentation done because of emotional welfare, but you can't have your legs done because that's cosmetic.
So now, before we finish up, oh no, okay. So what were you going to say?
Well, as I say, so it's my thighs, which are the worst part on me, which now have sort of like fat nodules, sort of lobules that come round over my knee, which means I can't kneel, so I can't get in and out of bath. I can't kneel down. I can't get on the floor. If I'm on the floor, it takes a hell of a lot to get me back up again.
Yeah.
Laying in bed is uncomfortable because of the shape of my legs, so I often have to put a pillow between my knees, and it's to the point where I can't move my knees properly, and then that stops your whole gait function, because that affects your gait, that affects in your hips, that then affects all the rotator muscles and everything else. So that causes cramps because you're putting pressure on places, and that affects absolutely then everything. And then again, if you're imagining that you've got everything that's out of joint, that you know that you're causing some sort of all those sort of rotational problems because your joints aren't in the right position, your muscles are overstretched, your tendons are being pulled, you know, your legs can't fit together properly, you can't walk properly, you can't bend your knees properly, you can't bend your ankles properly. And then, you know, if then you add all that together, but we can't get treatment. So the real treatment, so when we're in the later stages, we can't get treatment. So what we need to do is we need to certainly make sure that we're stopping girls, younger girls now who are having the early stage of this, having compression, understanding it, knowing where this will lead, because there is no ongoing treatment at the moment. We need to help prevent this. We need to save young girls from the trauma that us women have been through with this. And we can, and that is what podiatrists can do. We can spot this. We are seeing people coming in, you know, we're seeing them from the knee down, they're sitting in our clinics, we're watching them walking in and out of our clinics. They're coming to us often with and they will come to us with plantar fasciitis pains and leg pains because they don't understand why their legs are hurting. And it's saying what is really classical, and the easiest diagnosis is the fact that you have this disproportion of the legs, the disproportion of the hips, the disproportion of the arms, and the hands and the feet are spared. And often the faces. I mean, most people look at me. I mean, I'm sitting here, you can see me on camera. I'm overweight, but looking at my face, most people wouldn't judge me to be above 20 stone.
What's that in kilos? I'll have to do a convert. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So,
well, over 100.
Like I said, I can think of a number of patients over the years, that certain patients that came in that were that particular body shape, and their daughters would come in and they were that particular body shape. So yeah, I think it's something that we have been totally unaware of. So your webinars, so when they're available, when you've got the exact dates, I will, because we've got the on Facebook, the Podiatry Business Owners Club is my Facebook page. So if you're a podiatry business owner or aspiring business owner, come over there, answer 3 questions and you're in. Don't answer the questions, you're not in. It's really simple. But I'll also, so when you get your information for the webinars, we'll put it in that group, but I'll also put it on the Podiatry Legends podcast page. So anyone that's listening to this, what have you got a website that they can go to? Because I'm sure you're going to keep doing these down the track.
Yes, we will have. I'll give you the links for the websites to come on. I've got a training website, but it's
that'd be cool. I'll just put that in the show notes. When you have the websites,
yeah,
give it to me. I'll put it in the show notes. Anyone listening to this, even if you're listening to this 6 months after the fact or 12 months after the event, still go to that website, because I'm sure this is going to be something that's going to be ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was the same, because obviously because of COVID, we were meant to present at a few different conferences.
Bloody COVID. Bloody COVID. That's bloody COVID. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Yeah, so we were meant to be presenting in Greece and in Poland. I was meant to be in Poland now, actually. There was a Poland one I was meant to be at. We were meant to be at the Welsh conference. I was doing the first Lipoedema talk in Podiatry at the Welsh conference that was meant to be back in March. Obviously, it didn't happen. So yeah, we're a little bit of a year late again out there, but we're going to get it out there, and we're going to have, recognizing it. We tend to be taught about lymphedema, and we can generally recognize lymphedema in our patients. We can easily learn to recognize lipedema, and we can easily learn to actually take that pressure off women and say, this is not your fault. You have not done anything wrong, because the biggest thing we carry is guilt, that we have done something wrong, that we are wrong, and we are not wrong. And I am not lipedema.
So, Nicola, that's a great way to finish. I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast again, which is great. Like I said, your last time you were on, that was extremely popular. I think this episode is going to be just as popular. And I think more people that actually listen to it, this will be one people will go back and listen to a second time, and we'll probably go to the link in the show notes to that article that you gave me, and we'll probably just start investigating this a little bit more. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And to say, hopefully it might even give the chance to come back in and actually do a little bit, and maybe when I'm on the podcast, we can actually go through and do a diagnostic criteria for people, which is a nice, easy one to do. That should be lovely. All right.
Okay. Thank you. That's stopping on the recording, but the video is still actually going. So I did on a couple of episodes of the podcast now. So anyone watching the video now, I'm going to let you in a little secret. On some of the podcasts now, I'm letting it pause for about 5 or 10 seconds. The music finishes, dun, dun, like that. And then I come in and go, are you still here? Okay. Since you've hung around, I'm going to give you a special little tip. And then I just share something. So I've only just started doing that. I think it was on might have been your first episode. I think I put it on the end of yours.
Yeah, cool.
And then I did the World Students one, which I don't think I put on there because I split it into 2 episodes. So I might put it on part 2. But yeah, so it's just a little bit of fun. So thanks for coming. And remember, we're still got the video running at the moment, so no swearing.
No swearing.
I call everyone bastards and stuff. But I think that was really interesting. And I think it's one of those things that, but like, I think people are aware that someone have had problems, but they haven't been able to really just diagnose it. Yeah, like you said, you can push on certain areas, and feeling the difference between just fat and what lipedema is. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and the fact that you can just pretty much, I mean, I can walk down the street now and I can spot a lipedema woman, like, it's lipedema, or stage 1, she's a stage 4, and I
thought that was really interesting about the whole. You don't go stage 1 to. It's not like like cancer where stage 1 to you go through. It's like
you can be a stage 4 and then you can be a stage 5 and then you're a stage 2.
Especially when you mentioned just the calf. Stage 5 was the calf muscles, I think. Yeah. And I do recall, someone I know who I remember seeing their calves going, wow, they look a bit large and wobbly compared to the rest of them.
We all have friends who have tree trunk legs.
Yeah.
That traditional.
So
and it starts off with being tree trunky, sort of tree trunky legs, and then becoming kind of like sort of like lumpy, and then you can go into the kind of so mine is all very much around my arse, my tummy, my arse, my upper thighs. My lower legs have only just recently, to say the last 10 years, my calves have only really been affected. So my ankles weren't too bad and my lower calves weren't too bad until recently.
Did you say your arms started before your calves, or that's only been the most recent?
No, my upper arm started probably around about 10 years ago. And then my lower arm literally has only been the last couple of years. And this year in lockdown, my lower arm has really got, because this here now, this is all new.
Yeah, well, I've seen the arms on like a lot of people. So hey, I do need to run because for me now it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning, which means everybody's awake, and I'm going to go cook some steak and eggs for breakfast. So I'm going to turn the video off here. Anyone that stayed till the end of the video, thanks for hanging around, and I hope you enjoyed the video and the little bit extra you got at the end.
Sure.